Good morning, mushrooms, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers, sisters, mothers, misters, and to all my cousins out there. It's time to plug in and get the train chugging. Lots of news out there to pick apart today. Japan scrambles after more Chinese warplanes more than once a day. Now, you might know this word scramble. We've had it on the show many times, and often it's to move around in a very hurried and clumsy way, trying to accomplish something, or to climb up a mountain with loose rocks, and so you're using your hands and your feet, trying desperately to make progress, and it's difficult. Well, in this case, it does still have the idea of kind of franticness and in a hurry. However, this is Japan scrambling their warplanes after the Chinese warplanes. Let's learn more in the caption below. The pace of potential intercepts put Japan's Air Force under unrelenting pressure. Wow, I forgot to highlight that one. A kind of pressure that's not even seen by any of its Western counterparts. As I said, they were scrambling their fighters, and it was to intercept Chinese fighters. And we've had intercept on the show many times, and that's to stop something from reaching its destination. And so Chinese warplanes are flying towards Japan, so they quickly launch their own fighters and stop them from flying over the Japanese mainland or Japanese airspace, I guess. The pace of this, though, I mean, this is the speed or the frequency, how fast and how often it is going here. And so it's putting a lot of stress on Japan to have to whoop, whoop, sound the alarms, have everybody run, launch the fighters, and then stop and intercept and then divert the course of these Chinese warplanes. It's something that other countries apparently do not see. And if something is unrelenting, now when we have pressure is on us. It puts pressure on us. And so if something is unrelenting, it won't let up. And so that's a good phrasal verb for decreasing pressure, to let up, to decrease, the amount of pressure on somebody. And so they just keep doing it, and Japan is getting stressed out by that. Their nerves might be a little bit frayed, like this piece of rope. They're starting to unravel as a result of the constant use and stress. Ooh, recycling some good vocabulary, and I get to use my piece of rope. Hooray! Let's move on. A simple little reminder, they are unsure how to handle Beijing. We handle somebody or we handle something. We don't handle with. No with. We deal with. We handle or manage. Deal with, handle something, manage something. Let's move on. We've had China countless times on this program, basically increasing tensions, and they're taking more and more progressive actions around in the South China Sea, around the Sea of Japan, or the East China Sea. I don't know. They even dispute what the actual name for that body of water is. However, they are flexing their military muscle. Boom! Flexing those muscles. They're showing how strong they are. Anytime somebody's flexing, it is a demonstration of their own strength or power, more or less. Yeah, to flex your muscle, to flex your power, to flex your might, to demonstrate. I don't know. Yep. Okay. Moving on to New Zealand is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, a conviction means somebody was found guilty of something, slavery, in court, and they were found guilty and therefore were convicted, and then will most likely will be sent to prison, will be sentenced to some years or a term in prison. And they say that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is a common expression in many languages, even in countries that have no experience with icebergs, because as we know, with icebergs, you can just see the little tip of it, but then the other 90% of the icebergs is below the waterline, and so we don't really even know how big it is. And so this is just a little piece of a much larger problem, and we don't even know how large it is. The tip of the iceberg. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful phrase, and guess what? It probably even exists in your own language. And so, no need to explain it further. Let's move on to one of my favorite verbs, to undermine something, to undermine the pandemic response. Now, that to undermine means literally to dig underneath something, especially like a building, which eventually, if there's no ground underneath it, it will collapse. or slowly to erode the base of something, so once again, causing it to collapse. But often, with undermining things in a figurative fashion, it means that you are taking actions to make something less effective and maybe eventually fail. This often is something that's done over time, much like erosion, but it also could be something more in the short term. But so, the question is, how is he undermining the pandemic response? Well, with misinformation, providing information to the public which is factually not true, incorrect, much like his hydroxychloroquine advertisement, and self-obsession. If you are obsessed with something, it is all that you can think about, and usually meaning to a detrimental or negative effect. And so yes, he can't stop thinking about himself to a detrimental effect, both on himself and on the nation, due to, well, pandemic. All right, let's move on to, here's a word you've probably never seen before. To bolster. It means to strengthen and support. Ta-da! And it's usually a very firm, dense pillow or cushion, which is then used to support other cushions. You might use one on your bed. It'll go across the entire length of the bed, and then you prop up your other pillows against that for a very comfortable position if you want to read in bed. Endangered tigers have been captured on camera, and that, knowing that they exist now, bolsters the hope for the species' survival. So it's strengthening our hope for their survival because we didn't know that these tigers were out there, because they are endangered of going extinct. They might disappear, and that's not good. We need to preserve our biodiversity, especially these apex predators which keep ecosystems in check and in balance. Watch a cool video about the wolves in Yellowstone and how the environment changed with the reintroduction of the wolves. Really quite fantastic. All right, now we're getting off topic, so let's continue. 5 takeaways from a combative U.S. Attorney General hearing. A hearing is when somebody has to testify in front of court, or in this case, the Senate or the House of Representatives, I forget which, but so the board, the panel, the judges, the representatives can hear what the person has to say when they are testifying, given their official statements or accounts of what happened. And the U.S. Attorney, William Barr, the disgusting blob that he is, was very combative. And if somebody, coming from the word combat, combat, meaning battle, right? And so combative, syllable stress shift as it changes to an adjective, and it means very quick or willing to argue or fight. Yeah? And so he wasn't cooperating, he was trying to argue and fight with the people who were questioning him. And so there was a lot of words, a lot of talking, blah, blah, blah. Nobody really wants to read all of it, watch all of it, listen to all of it. And so they're giving you 5 key points that you can, thank you very much, take away with you. Put it in your pocket and save it for later. They've boiled it down, they've reduced it, they've distilled it to 5 main points which you can take away with you from the whole thing. And so basically, it's a summary. I hope this word, takeaway, is one of the key takeaways for you from today's broadcast. All right, let's move on. A 1,000-year-old medieval remedy could be potential antibiotic. Ooh, yay, cool. Good luck with that, scientists, because we are getting more and more strains of bacteria and other things which are resistant to our antibiotics. But a remedy, it's a medication or some sort of treatment for an illness or ailment. It could be a treatment or a cure. I would say it leans more towards a cure or something that at least alleviates the symptoms, that makes the symptoms less serious. Thanks for the bit, Zdenek. And sometimes it gets to be a little bit depressing, but diamonds are a remedy for the broadcaster blues. But yeah, and it means coming back from Latin, of course, means again, and then whatever the Latin at root here means basically heal or health, and so it's healthy again. And so a remedy is something which makes you healthy again. Yes, it fixes you, it cures you, or alleviates the symptoms. But as I said, leans more towards curing it than just treating the symptoms. Because you can treat the symptoms, but if you don't stop the underlying condition, it's just going to continue. Yeah, that's that. Oh boy. Trump campaign has been accused of laundering tens of millions of dollars by a nonpartisan watchdog. Now, here we go. A watchdog, this is a watchdog agency. And a watchdog agency, much like an actual watchdog, one of those dogs used for security, who then barks when he sees something that could be out of the ordinary and potentially threatening or wrong, illegal, etc. So, these agencies are designed to oversee and supervise other activities of individuals and other agencies even to make sure that nothing is going wrong, right? And this watchdog agency is actually nonpartisan. Now in the US, we have two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. This one is nonpartisan, so it's not affiliated with either of the two and hasn't been appointed. No, the people haven't been appointed by either of the people. They are completely objective and just looking, say, at the numbers. And what numbers? Tens of millions of laundering money. Yeah, and just like when you do your laundry, you wash your clothes, they are washing money. And washing or laundering money is to conceal the original source of illegal money that has been obtained through illegal activities. And so, I don't think that they're selling drugs or something. However, they're siphoning and filtering and funneling money from other things into their own pockets in an illegal fashion. Often this is done by wiring money into offshore accounts, or then filtering it through legitimate businesses, much like car washes or laundromats or other sort of things like you've seen on Breaking Bad and countless other television programs. Let's move on. To dismiss something is to say you are free to leave. You may go. That's like a teacher dismissing their students. However, in this case, to dismiss COVID-19 as a psychosis is just to not treat it with respect and say it's no big deal, to not deserve the respect or not be deserving an address or action directed towards it. This president, and it's not Trump, they're trying to get you to click to find out who, but if you ask me, it sounds a heck of a lot like Bolsonaro in Brazil, and he dismissed COVID-19 as a psychosis, and now he has caught it. Remember, we catch illnesses, which is funny because really, in essence, they catch us because we are their hosts then. And we allow them to spread. So it's more like they caught us, but we say that we catch illnesses, catch a cold, catch the flu, etc. Because it's interesting, it's fascinating. But remember, it's illegal and it's immoral. Let's move on. The Bezos and Amazon, his ex-wife says she has given away 1.7 billion of her divorce settlement so far. By so far, it implies that she will be giving away more. And the settlement is for her divorce because I want this and I want that, and it's an argument and things are all up in the air and stirred around and so on, but then eventually they settle down. And so she settled for this and he settled for that. They reached a settlement and their divorce. Wow, there's a big lag there. The world's best department store is shedding 14% of its staff. To shed, you've heard me use on the show countless times, to shed light on something, but really with shedding, if you have a dog or a cat, you know that they shed their fur, and your couch would be covered in fur because they are giving off or getting rid of hair that is now unnecessary. Just like human beings shed dead skin cells, millions of them every day, snakes periodically shed their old skin as they're growing into larger skins. But companies will often shed employees, shed their staff if they no longer need them or cannot pay them, etc. And so just like we give off dead skin, companies get rid of employees. Yeah, I know, it's kind of an insensitive term, but it's also very visual because you think of dogs and cats and dead skin cells and snake skins and other sort of things like that. Yeah. All right, Cool, let's move on. Universal and AMC strike a deal. Because, of course, negotiating back and forth, haggling over the details and the nuanced aspects of something. And they finally, ka-ting, and they pound the nail in, which seals the deal when they have struck the deal that may upend movie releases forever. Who knows? Whatever. Haven't read it. But to upend something, I've got this water bottle. Right now it is right side up. If you upend it, it is then upside down. Or you could turn it this way. Either way, it means putting it up on its end or upside down. But either way, it shakes it up. It causes things to be different. It causes a disruption. And if you follow tech news, you're always hearing about disrupting an industry, disruptive companies, etc. So it might upend the movie releases, disrupt the industry forever. Ooh. 2. Doesn't turn up here on the news too much, but nice to see you here, and for something positive. They are an outpost of normality amid the pandemic. An outpost. Often you hear about that within empires. In England was a distant outpost of the Roman Empire, and it's like the farthest reaches, the last military base, which often serves as some sort of watchdog, surveying the territory, isolated and far away, and so the rest of the world has been affected, but they are out over there and not affected by the pandemic. A tennis star gives you the details of the debilitating side effects of catching COVID-19. Now, the side effects, we know it is a respiratory illness primarily, and so it affects the lungs and the breathing. However, there are other side effects which are not the main effects, yeah? Maybe some people get joint pain or crazy dreams or, the loss of smell and so on. That's another side effect of the disease. And if something is debilitating, I mean, even think about it coming from Latin, and in Spanish, the word débil means weak. And so if something is debilitating, it is weakening or reducing the strength of it, and therefore the functionality of it. And here, the COVID, speaking of side effects, COVID's impact on the heart. 2 new studies suggest the plot is thickening. Ooh, and this comes from literature, and the plot is the storyline, right? And if the plot is thickening, it's becoming more and more complicated, more complex, and therefore more interesting. Often with the introduction of a new character or something else that causes you to question the motives of one or the other, and it's becoming much more intriguing. And here, yes, 2 new studies suggest the plot is thickening with COVID because they're finding more and more that it is more than just a respiratory illness. I saw another headline that said something like 3/4 of people who have recovered from COVID-19 show evidence of lasting heart damage. And so that's disheartening. Ooh, get it? Sorry, just came off the top of the head and had to throw it in there. To be disheartening means to be a little bit depressing. It lowers your morale and your spirits. Okay. Travelers in Spain. So travelers in Spain react to the UK restrictions because the UK is placing restrictions on people who are taking holiday in Spain. Now, some people are already in Spain on holiday, and now suddenly when they go back, they thought everything would be just fine. But now they have imposed a 14-day quarantine for people who have visited Spain, even though Spain's in relatively a better condition than England regarding COVID. But the UK travelers are reacting, saying it's utterly stupid. Utterly here just means completely, inside out, backward, forth, from top to bottom, through and through, completely stupid. Now, stupid is not the best word, as my mother taught me, because if you say something stupid, you sound stupid, because there are many other better ways to express what you really mean. And so, ridiculous, egregious, who knows what they really think, because they just chose the word stupid. Some sad news coming out of now Nigeria. Some guy was slaughtered like a goat. Yeah, to slaughter something, animals, usually is then to butcher them so they can be eaten. But when we're talking about humans, it means killed in a violent way, much like an animal, hopefully not to be eaten. But to be killed in a brutal, horrible, and violent way. In a dehumanizing way, treating them like just an animal. Some workers asked their consul the guy who works in the consulate, the representative of their home government there in the consul, they asked him for help. Their employers found out that they were looking for help, and they were beaten and then exploited in return. To exploit something, you can exploit a technology to use it to your full benefit. Yeah? However, when we're talking about people or a situation that involves people, it means to use it in a demeaning or unfair sort of way. You're taking advantage of it to the detriment of the people being exploited. And so yes, it's good to exploit a technology. It's not good to exploit people or situations that then involve them. You hear about companies exploiting tax loopholes, much like Facebook, Google, and Amazon, who base portions of their company in different countries and therefore avoid paying billions of dollars in taxes. It's not illegal, but is it morally or ethically correct? Nah, I'd say no. You got enough money. Pay your fair taxes, like everybody else. Whatever. 100-million-year-old sea microbes are alive and thriving. If they're thriving, they're doing well, they're multiplying, they're healthy, they're happy, they're eating and they're swimming or whatever they do and multiplying. To thrive is to do very well within your environment. Just like I've constantly used the example, the street art scene in Barcelona is thriving. The tech scene in... Oh, here it comes. I could feel that sneeze coming for like the last 15 minutes. And finally, it got me. To thrive, to do very well within an environment, to thrive, to flourish. But, okay, let's move on to bears. From sea microbes to bears. And they call him papillon, the word for butterfly, but coming from the famous book about the prisoner who kept escaping and was on the run around Latin and Central America back in the 1800s, I guess. This bear is like the butterfly who kept escaping, and he's a serial runaway, meaning he does it again and again and again. Serial, that's where we get the word for TV shows, serials. They are series because they are a series of episodes, yeah. But to do something again and again, running away from his prison, his jail, his enclosure, where he's supposed to be. Yeah, we also hear about serial entrepreneurs. Yeah, they start a business and another business and another business. But back to the point, he's on the loose. He's not tied down. He's not in the cage. He's loose. He's free. He's running around wildly. Where? Don't know, but probably in France, because they gave him a French name, or a name from a character, a French guy in a French book. Okay, let's go. Some more sad news, but isn't the news usually sad? So we're going to focus on the positive aspect of this. A mother killed herself, but it left her daughter looking for, very actively, hunting for a female role model. A role model is somebody that you aspire to be like. Yeah? You want to emulate them. You want to mimic their success and their positive characteristics. It's somebody that you admire and look up to. Yeah, much like a kid looks up to their parents. Yes, it's somebody, your character, you want to model it after, because a model is an example for something, and in this case, character. Yeah, just like you play roles in a play, roles in a film, it's your personal character. Who's my role model? Well, I would, without question, I would say my father is my role model. I would have to think a little bit harder to come up with somebody just from society in general. Yeah, anybody out there watching, let me know who your role model is. I'm interested. There's a lot of amazing people out there that I don't know about. Let's move on. Oh, speaking of on, 20 years on, after football, blah, 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 whatever. In this case, 20 years on just means 20 years later. Yeah? That's it. More football news, however, about a 16-year-old in Russia. He was the goalkeeper, and he was actually on the news here before. And he was struck by lightning in the middle of a match, but he's back playing after his lightning strike. Notice I said he was struck by lightning, using it in the passive, third form of the verb. It's irregular, strike, struck, struck. Yeah? Cool. Misleading, yeah? It can lead you in the wrong direction, give you the wrong ideas, give you the wrong impression. causing you to believe things that aren't necessarily true. Yes, the death rates might be remarkably low in some places. However, just because people aren't dying doesn't mean it isn't having serious effects on them and the healthcare and the economy, etc. Because when a significant portion of the workforce has been removed, companies cannot function, and that has an effect on the economy. Additionally, there are lasting health effects, debilitating health effects, side effects, which can then reduce people's productivity and quality of life moving forward. And so the death rate isn't the only important factor. And so you get a lot of these people saying, oh yeah, but look, the death rate's only 1%. How can it shut down a country? Well, there's more to it than just the death rates. Come on. Open your eyes, open your minds, pay attention to what's going on. To fall into a trap, yeah? A trap is something that's designed to catch you, and if you get caught, that's not a good thing because then somebody will eat you if you're an animal, right? Or if you're like a mouse, you'll probably die. Yes, I fall into the trap of getting into the story too much as opposed to just the language. I fall into that trap all the time. Sorry about that. And so, along those lines, let's move on. I like this last one. There we go. It's just a nice piece of very visual vocabulary. Americans are dying of COVID-19 and Trump is pouting about Fauci. To pout is this. You stick out your lower lip like a little kid who's upset because he didn't get his cookie or something along those lines. You could be pouting because you're upset or you're sad, but it's typically done by little children because they're unable to express their emotions in a better way. And so he's pouting in the corner. Everybody likes Fauci, but they don't like me. Also, though, it's to use it as an adjective, pouty, with a Y at the end, pouty lips are nice, thick, full lips, and that's why women get those crazy injections and then look like freaks. Zdenek, thank you very much that I'm now your role model. I would say I question your judgment because I don't know if I quite qualify to be anyone's role model, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much, and for all the bits and the comments and the questions and the participation in general. Sulking, just like angry and grumbling. That's not fair. I was doing so good. All right. Okay, that's enough for today. My name is Mr. James, but if you made it this far or you watch this often, you can call me Cameron. You've earned that right. For English Otherwise, this was breaking down the news. If you like what you see on Twitch and or on YouTube, click the like, subscribe, follow, all that, add some comments, pass it along, tell a friend, help the world become a better place for all of us. And well, in short, if I don't see you sooner, see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. That's for sure. Bye-bye. Yes, where is it? Stop the stream.